Dave Lazat here for another edition of Striper's Distant Replay. It's the video series where we invite members of last year's International League South Division Championship Club to watch key moments from memorable 2019 games. Today we'll talk pitching with two of the top members of the Stripers 2019 starting rotation, Wright, who led the International League with 11 wins, and Bryse Wilson, whose 3.42 ERA made him Gwinnett's first ever IL ERA champion. They'll be joined by pitching coach Mike Maroth, who guided the club to a league-best 4.29 ERA. In part one, we'll watch Wright strike out 10 over 7 2/3 innings in an 11-4 win on June 14th at Syracuse. So, Kyle, as we watch this outing, kind of a lead into where you're at in the year, 9 AAA starts for you. You're 3-4 with a 7.22 ERA. You've had the 3 stints in Atlanta, opening day, member of the opening day rotation for the Braves. Kind of what is your mindset at this point in the season?
My mindset is we need to get it going. I feel like, I definitely struggled early on a pretty good bit. And I think, a lot of that was just to do with consistency and just being inconsistent in a lot of different aspects. And I feel like leading up to this start, we had a good week of preparation and working on stuff with Mike, particularly in bullpens. Just to kind of get myself back to nice, fluid, smooth mechanics and get myself in a good position. Honestly, just kind of going into the start, I felt pretty good about it. And then once I got here, I pretty much took what I had worked on and throughout the week and put it together. And I literally just kind of watching back at this video and looking at my mechanics. Mike, I'm sure you can see it too, but it just looks so much better than previous starts where I feel like I was just kind of rushing and trying to get the ball to home plate way too soon. It just looks really smooth and I feel really relaxed and I just look comfortable pitching.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you had a few good outings before this, so you were inconsistent. You'd have a good outing and then you struggle a little bit. But this outing here, everything just clicked from the first inning on, and then even after this. I mean, going back, this was a turning point for you because from this point on, for the rest of the year, you put up some really solid numbers. I believe your ERA was about a 2.5 from here on. So everything clicked. I think we were working on things and we saw some of it, but we didn't see the consistency. And from this point forward, we saw the consistency and then we saw the results with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think like you said, the consistency helped all my pitches. That because particularly in this game, I feel like I had every pitch working. That was 4-seam, 2-seam, changeup, cutter, breaking ball. I feel like I was able to command them all, and then throw them for strikes, and then put guys away with it too. And I feel like a lot of that was just feeling really smooth and consistent in my delivery throughout the entire game, not just a couple innings, but really being able to string it together and staying in that good, strong pitching position.
So here's Robinson Cano, 8-time Major League All-Star. He's on a rehab assignment for Syracuse. Syracuse, probably one of the more veteran lineups that you guys faced all season long. What's it like preparing for, guys that have had success in the majors, a guy like Cano?
I think that's another thing, and Bryse can probably say the same thing. But I feel like when you face these guys, they're not gonna chase a whole lot. They've seen too many big league pitches and faced too many good big league pitchers to chase and come out of their strike zone. So you really got to force them to swing the bat, and you really have to make every pitch look like a strike in order to get them to swing at it. And so I think that's kind of a big thing that I also took into this that probably helped me out, is just truly just trying to attack the zone and force them to make a swing. And because if not, these guys, they're patient hitters, they're mature hitters, they'll take their walk. So you got to really just kind of attack them and go right at them.
Yeah, and I think also a little bit for me, and I think a little bit for Kyle as well, it was just all about understanding that, yeah, he is an 8-time All-Star, and, even at the next level, like in the big leagues, just understanding that our stuff plays against those hitters too, and that, we're not just a normal AAA pitcher throwing against, Robinson Cano, that we can actually get him out. And I think mentality-wise, like, that really helps. just understanding that our stuff plays at that level and against guys like him as well. So,
I mean, that's one of the biggest things that has to take place from a mental standpoint when you're going from AAA to the big leagues is you've got to be able to prove to yourself that you can pitch at that level. And everybody has to go through it. And honestly, you can have all the confidence in the world, but until you go out there and you experience it and prove to yourself that you can do it, that's when you start taking that next step. And that's where you become a big league pitcher and you stay there and you know, hey, this is where I belong. But everybody has to go through that process.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Agreed. What I will say about like watching Kyle, like as he was pitching, like coming into this game, and like I feel like his numbers were a little bit skewed. Like people hear, oh, 7 ERA, like that's awful, but I feel like he wasn't really throwing that bad. He just had a little bit of inconsistency. Like I feel like at the time, his stuff was probably the best or close to the best it's been. Like I remember there was a stretch where he was just sitting like 96 to 99 and like throwing really hard. His stuff was really gross or really nasty. And so I feel like those numbers are a little skewed. I think he had a lot of bad luck through a couple stretch of the games. But I feel like once he kind of settled down and like, you know, it's baseball, things started going his way, he was able to get back in it, and his numbers ended up translating towards the end of the year.
You're right. I thinking about a couple outings, I think before this, the Pawtucket outing. Remember that, Kyle, where you were pitching, I mean, you were dealing. And then all of a sudden, I think it was the fourth inning, you know, ran into some trouble and you kind of lost your composure a little bit and ran the pitch count up. But I mean, you were cruising. You looked really good in that game, and it was just, you had some bad luck in that inning, and it kind of got to you, and you didn't finish through that inning. But you're right, Bryce, that there was a lot of flashes of being good and seeing it from him. Yeah. It was just, putting it all together.
I appreciate that, Bryce.
Yes, sir. We've all been through it.
And I can remember when this game started. I remember in the first inning, the dugouts are so close to home plate, and so you get a real good vantage point of the pitches and just really the action on it and the stuff. And I can remember in the first inning talking with Damon, saying, "Man, he's got it tonight," and you could just see the sink on his fastball, and you knew it was going to be a good night. And sure enough, it was. But you could see right from the beginning that he was in a good place.
Yeah, to go along with that, that's when I knew I felt kind of back to like my normal self almost, is I had the good, sinking running two seam to go along with my four seam. It kind of what Bryce said early on. I had some of the best stuff I had ever pitched with, and I'm fairly good, but I've never thrown 96 to 99 before, and I don't know if that got to my head a little bit, and I tried to overthrow more, but like I said, because the stuff was there, it was just that there was some tough luck like in the Pawtucket game, but also just some inconsistencies with that stuff. I feel like because I was throwing harder, I ended up pitching up a little bit more, intentionally and unintentionally. And I feel like my two seam, I got away from a little bit and it flattened out a little bit because everything was up, so I never had a chance to come back down. And I think whenever I really worked getting that two seam, that sinking action back, then everything else started to play off of that again. And then my four seam actually played harder than it did when I was throwing harder because I had that action down. I feel like my breaking stuff was all started to miss much better, miss down instead of up. And so on. So, kind of both those. I think whenever I found my two seam or felt my two seam working, that's when I felt really good about the game, because I knew that it was going to be a pitch that I could go to just if I needed to try to get a ground ball or get back in the count, something like that. Not feel like I was going to have any damage done. At worst, a ground ball base hit.
We're going to move ahead to the seventh inning, and so far, Kyle, we watched you cruise right along against this lineup. So now we're going to show you an inning where you deal with a little bit of adversity and how you work out of that. Stripers are up 6-2, so you've got a little bit of a cushion behind you.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the biggest, things I took with me is getting out of this inning. Whereas I feel like a couple starts before, when I had a chance to get out of an inning and put together a good start, it ended up getting away from me. Or say I got out of the inning, but I ran my pitch count up, and then kind of took me out of the game regardless. So, I feel like in this game, getting out of that jam, I felt was a big confidence booster going forward.
Flipping and falling right there doesn't help.
Yeah, you didn't get to see it very well though.
Yeah.
So that's Ruben Tejada hit by a pitch. As we take a look at Jonathan Morales kind of stepping out and keeping the peace here a little bit, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Morales as a catcher and the times that you've worked with him and what you appreciate about his skill set behind the plate.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Mo, he's awesome. His energy back there is exactly what you want as a pitcher. He really keeps you in the game, and I feel like he wants you to do better than you do yourself, and that if you got a catcher that wants that, then you're most likely you're gonna pitch pretty well, because he's gonna do whatever he can to keep you in the game and keep you locked in, keep you focused, and keep you relaxed, and just go out and pitch.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing with Johnny Mo is he makes you believe in your stuff, just because of the energy he does bring and everything. He just, he's like, all right, like, here we go. He'll and sometimes he'll even get on you a little bit. He'll just, to get you going. And that really helps. And he's just energetic back there. And then in the dugout, he's just an incredible guy. He's funny. He's one of the personalities of the team for sure. But yeah, he's just all around great guy and an even better catcher.
Yeah, he brings a lot of energy for sure.
Yeah,
and there's nothing like it for a pitcher to have a catcher where you feel like the catcher is making the pitches with you. Mm-hmm. And he's living, through you on the mound with every pitch you make, and he's into it. And he's one of those catchers. So you feel like he's out there on the mound with you and going through the fight with you.
Yeah, you'll go out there sometimes and say you give up a couple runs in an inning, and he'll come in just as upset as you are. And it's not even that he's upset at you, at the pitcher at all. He's just upset with himself because he feels like he could have called better pitches or something. And I feel like that's what I love about him as a catcher.
Yeah. I say the best way to describe him is he's a winner. That's honestly just kind of when you watch him play, that's kind of what he brings to the table. He wants to win, and that's it. That's what he strives for is winning. And like I said, as a pitcher, that's exactly what you want in a catcher to do.
This is Luis Guillorme. We just did see a strikeout of Rene Rivera. Seventh strikeout for you on the night. He had a 2-run homer off of you in the first inning. That was the only scoring for Syracuse off of you on the night. When a guy's had success against you early in a ball game, and you make that adjustment maybe the second or third time you face him, I mean, how are you, I guess, coming back from, maybe not having success the first at bat to, changing your approach the second or third time you face him?
If I remember correctly, honestly, I think it was a well-executed pitch, but I think it was kind of in but I'm pretty sure it was that was where he does his damage. So
it was like that up and away fastball that he just.
Yeah.
I don't want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to hit the ball the other way. That's kind of one of his strong suits, is getting a ball out over the plate. He can drive and go the opposite field. And we put it in that area where he can handle it, and that's where you run into some problems.
Yeah. So for me, it was really just execute better, because it was not that it was necessarily a bad pitch. Just gotta execute. So I want to say I had 2 strikes on him too. I'm not entirely. I can't remember for sure, but I think after that bat, I knew I had to execute better, and honestly, it probably helped me execute better against everyone else. Locked me a little bit more. So, I guess you just don't. Whenever someone has success on you, it wasn't luck to him, but as a pitcher, you always think it's luck. So that's a lot of times I tell myself that. But just got to execute a little bit better.
Here's a big spot in the outing for you. You've got 2 on, 1 out. Team's up by 4 runs, so Syracuse really looking to get back into the ball game here late. What's going through your mind at this point? What are you trying to get done here?
Really, I want to get a ground ball, just get out of it as quick as possible. Really, it's not good I started that 1-0 there, but because that's a big first pitch strike you want to get. But for me, I just want to get a ground ball and get out of it. I don't remember exactly what I did here, but I'm not necessarily pitching for a strikeout, just because you don't want to risk the walk. But right now I'm not looking so hot, 2-0, so yeah, I guess at this point you just get back in it. Not a whole lot else you can do now. Now you got to come to him, because the last thing I want to do is load up the bases. So, and again, with us having a 4-run lead, just at this point you just go right at him. If he hits it, he hits it. Let the defense play, and like I said, we got a 4-run lead, so just go right at him.
Yeah, I don't know how many ground balls you had in this outing. You obviously had a really good sinker going, and if I recall correctly, pretty much everything was on the ground. So absolutely looking for a ground ball here to get out of it and stick with what's gotten you to this point in the game.
Yeah, and I also think I wanted to get a complete game too. I knew I was close to it, so that was another thing. I wanted to as few pitches as possible. Pitch for the ground ball, get the strikeout.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works out that way.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it needs to go though. So
buy him. Yeah, no chance right there.
So as a starting pitcher, when you see that bullpen action starting like in the corner of your eye, does that change your mindset at all?
100%.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, like I look over there and then I'm just like, all right, I better like together or I'm about to get taken out of the game. So
yeah, I think it honestly depends on the game, I guess. But at this one, I can't say I was as worried because I was pitching well. But those games where it's a little earlier than I like, yeah, I'm with Bryse. I better get it going.
So you got out of that inning, left 2 on. Aaron Altair hit a ground ball to third. Jack Lopez stepped on the bag to end the inning. So we're going to go ahead to the 8th. Striper's up 10-2 at this point, so you're really comfortable. I think you're closing in on 100 pitches at this point. And you'll be facing Tim Tebow to lead off the inning.
Well, that was a big decision too, to send him back out for the 8th. Kyle had gone down or gotten called up a few times before this and didn't get a lot of action when he was in Atlanta during those times. And so it ended up creating these long periods of layoffs of not pitching. So we had to kind of build him back up, and he was kind of at that point where trying to build him back up. And so to be able to send him out for the 8th inning was a tough call. I definitely wanted him to go out there because he had pitches left. But I knew it was going to be a lot because he hadn't pitched this deep in a game for a while on the season. It had been over a month for sure. So it was definitely a tough decision. I wanted him to go back out because he's pitching so good and just kind of ride that wave that he was on and, take him to that pitch count.
Yeah, starting 3-0 here probably made you question yourself a little bit.
Yes.
I will say at second pitch, that was almost a full swing, and he said he didn't go, so save that for another day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a good lesson. I mean, we've seen several strikeouts for you in this game where you've been, at 2-0 or in this case 3-0. Like it's good to see you battle back from falling behind on the count to still get the strikeouts here.
Yeah, and again, I think it just kind of goes back to those consistent mechanics. I feel like whenever that happened to me, I probably just rushed a little bit, got a little away, and then got away from it. So basically, best thing to do is just take a little deep breath, step back, and basically just calm back down and get back to the smooth mechanics. And I can already tell the difference between the 3-0 and the next 3 pitches I just threw, and just the fluidity of my mechanics. And then for me, having the confidence right there, 3-2, leadoff man, to throw that cutter slide, whatever you want to call it, and execute it, was something that I felt really good about too. I took that with me throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, to come back from 3-0 and come back and strike him out to start that inning was huge.
Yeah, Mike and Bryce probably both agree that being able to throw those off-speed pitches and fastball counts is everything to have a lot of success.
Yeah, 100%. And I think pitching as well as you did this whole game, you going into that last inning, like, you probably had confidence in everything.
Yeah,
I feel like when we have outings like this, most of the time, most of our stuff is working and we're throwing a lot of strikes, and so that confidence continues to build as you get later in the game. And even though your body may be getting a little tired, or may be getting a little tired, your confidence is so overwhelming at that point, as far as like the confidence in your pitches, that you're able to throw those pitches in critical time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's strikeout number 10. That's Arizmendi Alcantara. And I went back and looked it up. 96 miles an hour on this last pitch into the 8th inning.
Yeah, like I said, I really feeling confident with it was more so the thing for me is I feel like I never really lost control or command, and I feel like whenever you're kind of on top of your stuff, then the velo's going to always be there no matter what pitch it is, just because you're kind of rolling, you get a little more adrenaline the deeper you go. So I guess just like I said, being consistent was kind of the game changer in this game, and then so on after that. Looks like you said, this is kind of the start that kind of was a little turning point for me.
Well, let's wrap up this ball game. The Stripers go on to win at 11-4 over Syracuse. Your final line, Kyle: 7 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs. Both were unearned, by the way. 2 walks and 10 strikeouts, which was a season high at that point. And like Mike talked about, 2.57 ERA over your final 12 play outings from that point on. 8-0 record. You'll lead the International League in wins and strikeouts with 86. Finishing up the year 11-4 with a 4.17 ERA and 21 starts. You've kind of talked about it a little bit already, but just to kind of wrap up this game, what do you think the key was to getting past the early struggles you had last year and going on that dominant run?
So I'm just going to keep going back to it as consistency, and that's being consistent with mechanics, pitches, mentality, routine, literally everything. Kind of put it all into one, and just making sure you're being the same pitcher, the same person, every day that you're working before you pitch, and then every day that you pitch. So that's always the big one to me, and I got to get better in general of being consistent from the beginning than wait until a month or so into the season. But a lot of it is just for some reason I've always started a little slow, but good thing I got Mike to help me get back on track. So but yeah, I mean, like I said, just being consistent with my mechanics and everything, and not trying to rush and go too fast was kind of the game changer for me.